Welcome to episode 59.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
Finally, warmer weather is here, and there is no better time than right now to book your vacation getaway with 3D Travel Company. Head on over to our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side. They give a complimentary quote so you can get an idea of what it will cost to take your summer vacation. For a limited time, Who Did That Voice listeners can receive a Disney gift card for qualifying Disney and Universal trips, booked and traveled by the end of 2017. Hurry and book today so you can travel away.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hey you guys, this is a special shout out to all my listeners around the world. Who Did That Voice is now heard in over 78 different countries, and I can't thank you guys enough. Here in the USA and abroad, thank you for listening to Who Did That Voice. Keep listening and sharing with your friends. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today it is my distinguished honor to be bringing you the first ever podcast interview with the leader of the X-Men, Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, from the 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, which aired on Fox Kids. But don't take my word for it. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear our special guest make that announcement himself. I'm super excited for you guys to join me on today's X-Men adventure.
Surrender, mutant.
Of course. Not. Energy blast, huh? Here's one from a pro. You know that temper of his. If he doesn't get his way, he's gone. We can never depend on him. With hotheads like Wolverine, maybe we never will.
Where's Wolverine going?
His own way like he always does. I just hope his keen senses tell him not to take this thing on alone.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show I have Norm Spencer joining me. Norm, thank you so much for coming on the show today, man.
Thank you, Trenton. I'm glad to be on your show.
I really appreciate your time. It's always great to be able to speak with these amazing voice talents that have done shows that mean a lot to me and hopefully will become something that mean a lot to my listeners if they aren't familiar with what we talk about today. But the very first thing we always like to do, Norm, is to get to know somebody when they're on our show for the first time especially. So tell us a little bit about little Norm when you were a young boy and growing into the man. How did you...
Little Norm.
Yeah, tell us about little Norm growing into the man you became, and how did you get into acting, and how did voice acting become something that you got into as well?
Okay, well, I was born in BC, British Columbia, Vancouver. I always wanted to be an actor. And then, I would tell teachers that, I'm going to be an actor. Yeah, I'm going to be an actor. And you go, oh, really? Oh, well, you're not good looking enough to be a leading man, but you're not ugly enough to be to not make it. So it's like, okay. So anyway, I was in plays in high school and stuff like that, and then I thought about theater, and I thought, well, I didn't want to be a starving actor on the stage, and I loved radio. I used to listen to all the morning shows in Vancouver, and so I thought, well, I'll go into radio, and then parlay that into an acting career, right?
Yeah.
So I went to broadcast school called British Columbia Institute of Technology, which means nothing probably to your listeners. Anyway, 2-year course. You learn everything about radio. We had a radio station that we actually operated, and everyone had a job, and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they discovered, or whatever, that I was a funny writer. At the end of the course, they place you in a radio station, and they said, Norm, you're going to Smithers, BC. People may know about Smithers because they've they've shot many movies up there.
It's grown a lot since it, it was a very small, but it's very known now, actually, in the film industry. So
tiny little town, but beautiful. And so I said, well, okay, so what am I going to be doing? He said, well, you're a copywriter. I said, I don't want to write. I want to be, a morning guy, like an announcer. So anyway, long story short, I drove up with this long-haired guy with a cockatiel, and we drove up there and, worked there. And then I moved to Kelowna, and then I moved to Chilliwack. All these towns probably mean nothing to your listeners, but anyway, worked my way to Victoria, BC. And along the way, I just started winning all these awards for my commercials, which I wrote and voiced myself, you see.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I didn't want to write something and then just give it to someone and let them
get the credit.
You do it well, yeah. And I just had a vision of what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
In short, I was a tyrant.
Well, if you're a tyrant, then I am too, because I'm absolutely the same way. You want to take care of your baby when you create something, and you want it to come out the way you envision it.
Well, that's right. So anyway, and then I got an offer from CFNY in Toronto, which is now 102.1 The Edge, and they did some really creative stuff. Man, I just won more awards. I went to New York and won a couple of Clios, and so an agency came to our table and wanted a tape from me, and I gave it to them, and they took me on. So I was able to sort of quit writing commercials, which were all just club spots, so I would say, well, what's special about your club? Oh, the lights, the music. Oh, okay. Anyway, long story short, I just started doing voiceovers immediately, and in those days, when was that? 86, 80, whatever it was. And I was a new kid on the block, and I really did very well from the very start, and been doing it ever since. That's like 22 years, 23 years or something.
Yeah. So you've been doing it since the mid to late 80s, so 90s, so almost 30 years, almost.
Is it really?
Yeah.
My sense of time is terrible. I always go, how long have you lived in that house, Norm? I don't know, 5 years, which is really 25. So anyway.
Well, actually, it would be about 30 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, wow. That's a long time, man.
And in that time, I did start acting. I did start, got an agent for on camera, and I just started doing a bunch of TV stuff. I don't know if your listeners might remember Top Cops, which was reenactments of actual stories. And
I do remember that show, yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And you're 31.
Yeah, man, I watched all the classic stuff. My dad raised me on all kinds of stuff, and so my diversity and my background is very different from most people.
Good for you, yeah. Well, that's part of your business, right?
Yeah, well, and it's part of my business because it's part of my childhood, and it's part of how I was raised and grew up, and so I share these wonderful things with people now who may not have heard of them, and hopefully they'll learn some new things too.
And I mentioned Carol Burnett to people, and they go, who? Carol who?
Yeah, she's a
your
classic.
Neighbor? No, I know.
Who's that?
Because I forget. Because I'm 59, and I'm talking to a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, and Don Rickles just died. They go, who?
Yeah.
Is that your dad? No.
Mr. Potato
Anyway,
Head.
Yeah, and so I did a bunch of those, and Top Cops, and Earth Final Conflict, and ENG, all those shows, right?
Yeah.
Not a huge part, but just, little stuff. And continued to do voice. And the money, I was making so much in voice that I didn't need to concentrate. I should have concentrated more on the acting, because anyway, that's another story. I'm rambling.
Hey.
I haven't even let you get a word in.
Hey, it's okay. We're getting to learn your background and your story, and that's what I love to do with my actors, Norm, is to let them kind of give us a rich background on who they were and how they got where they were. With getting into your career, how did the whole role of becoming Cyclops, aka Scott Summers on the X-Men, the leader of the X-Men, how did that whole role happen for you?
Well, I got a call from my agent and for an audition for this show called X-Men. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say I did not know what X-Men meant, who they were, what it was, da da da. I mean, my thing in when I was a kid was Batman. I used to watch the series, the series from '60, whatever it was. And
Adam
I had
West?
a Batmobile. Yeah, Adam West.
Yeah, love
Burt
that show.
Ward and
Best
sure,
Batman.
I did too.
Loved it.
And I had my own Batmobile.
Oh, sweet.
Not the little model. It was an actual Batmobile because I'm filthy rich. No. It was a model. No, it was just a tiny model that shot flames out of the back. So that's what I liked, and that was it. I'm not. I was never into comic books like Sidney Sheldon and all that kind of stuff. So I go to the audition, and they showed me a picture of Cyclops. So I'm thinking, okay, he's blue. He shoots fire or an optic blast out of his eye.
Yeah.
So I just went, big with it. I'm just like, look out for the... And the director's like, whoa, stop. It's way too big. Oh, okay. Because, I'm thinking he's a superhero. He's this or that. I had no concept of mutants and that they're actually, human and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I just kept going. Well, one of my, famous lines, Gene, get down, right?
Yeah.
There were some episodes, that's all I said. But anyhow, so I just kept doing it, and he goes, no. And thank God it was Dan Hennessy who directed most of the episodes because he was a friend of mine. And
also a caregiver.
He said, yeah. So he said, Norm, just bring it down. And I kept doing it. And then I was so frustrated. I said, Dan, I don't know what you want. And he goes, that. I want that. And I went, what do you mean, this? You want me? Basically it was me, my own voice, a little bit heightened. That was it, right? And so I got the part, and off we went.
That's awesome. Well, to be honest with you, Norm, I was not a comic book reader or I had no knowledge of really what Marvel was until your X-Men show came out. And really, you guys were my introduction to the world of the X-Men, and you were my very first Cyclops. So I understand that you came from a world where you didn't understand it, but your portrayal of him is what I base everything off of. And when they did the movies, I was more fond of your animation character Cyclops, Scott Summers, than I was of some of the feature film stuff we've seen.
That is very, very nice of you.
Well, you shaped my childhood, man. I mean, you shaped what Scott Summers is to me and what Cyclops is to
God.
me. So
what a responsibility.
I mean, for those of us who grew up in that era, man, if we weren't comic book readers, and like you, I watched the Adam West Batman show growing up and stuff, but until X-Men and the animated Spider-Man show came out that you also got to be a part of in a few episodes, I had no idea what Marvel was. So you really were what helped shape that for me. So I thank you.
Oh, wow. That's very nice. I must say that until the whole cast sort of got together and we did one episode, a pilot, if you will.
Yeah.
And it got sent to LA, and it was like we all got word that, okay, you're all fired. It's this isn't working. There's no relationship between each character, and blah blah blah, blah. And we're all terrified with it. What? So the people from LA came up to Toronto and actually sat in and kind of explained the relationship that they wanted to see between Rogue and between me and Professor Xavier and Beast and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they were in LA. How would we know? We were never really given any direction as to, you know what I mean? So anyway, we did the episode again, and they were happy, and off we went. So, man, it was a time of my life. It really was.
That's
fantastic. Seriously, it was. It was during the summer, and it was fantastic. Those were the days.
Well, what is it like working with those amazing people? I mean, like working with Cal Dodd and Chris Potter and all the other amazing people like Lenore Zan.
Lenore. I have a story, but no, I can't tell that. I can't tell that story. when she and when she and I went to a Blue Jays game. Never mind. Okay, so and we ended up on the jumbotron. The thing is,
Ooh.
and we were so because she had a oh God, I'm telling way too much. Well, she was in a relationship, and she we looked up and see ourselves in the jumbotron, and we're thinking, shit, is this going across the network? Anyway, it didn't. No, Cal Dodd. Oh, I play golf with Cal. Do you want me to do an impression of Cal?
Sure, do it.
Have you talked to him?
I haven't, but I've been dying
Has he
to.
been on your show?
I haven't been able to reach him yet.
Okay, well, never mind then. Cal kind of talks like this. He's kind of got that sort of thing, and talks about his golf course. Oh, Islington. That third hole, forget about it. That's like, well, you'll see. Okay. So I don't know how many episodes we did. I don't know, 63 or something.
Yeah, it was like 60 something, I think. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I just finished watching all of them, and they are all excellent.
Wow. You don't happen to know the actor Don Franks, do you?
Oh gosh, that name sounds super familiar. Why does it sound familiar?
Well, he's a fantastic musician, a great actor. He looks like a biker. He always wears a bandana, and he wears bare feet when he does. So you remember the episode where my dad and I had a
yeah.
Okay, and he's got a voice that goes down like this.
Yeah, he was the pirate, like the space pirate.
Yes. Well, God rest his soul. He passed away, unfortunately. I think in the past year, but
oh no,
that was really, really nice because you know what? We don't work together.
Yeah,
we did in the beginning, but people's schedules, they don't work out, and so you're kind of a lot of the time you're in there by yourself.
Yeah.
But him and I did our thing, and he came up after and he said, "Man, that was one of the best experiences of my life." He was on that series Gangland Undercover about the motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, he had an excellent voice too. Like you guys paired really well as father and son vocally. So yeah, he was an amazing casting for that role, and it's sad to hear that he's passed. But he definitely left a lasting impression on us. So.
And just an incredibly nice guy.
That's awesome. Well, and I checked real quick, Norman. Y'all did 76 episodes.
Oh, altogether?
Altogether, the entire series was 76 episodes in total.
Was it 3 years, I think, or two?
Roughly, I think over the course of 2 or 3 years it aired. I think it was from 93 to right at 95, where it finished right before 95, but it was like through that era. So. Okay.
And it's still going. And, I still get letters from kids all over the States, and it just it floors me.
Well, they have. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, you and I were talking earlier, and they send a picture of Cyclops, and they want an autograph, and I'm like, I don't know, what do I sign? My name? Do I sign Cyclops? I'm not sure, because I'm not used to.
Yeah.
I make a living at it, but I'm not George Clooney, for God's sake. I wish I was. I mean, I look like him, but I just don't have I just don't have his agent.
Yeah.
I mean, I have gray hair. Okay.
Well, you got to voice Cyclops on several different projects. And I know, working on so many different things in your career, it's hard to keep things straight, but I just wanted to mention these so people know. You voiced Cyclops and Scott Summers, because they're one and the same, on X-Men X-Men versus Street Fighter, a video game.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. And then you did it on X-Men Children of the Atom. And then 2 other games, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, and then Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. So you actually got to be not only on the series, but in a lot of video games too. So if people hadn't originally heard you on the show, they may have heard you first on the video games. And I just wanted to mention those as well, because your voice was pretty readily out there as Cyclops for a long time.
I should really get in touch with my agent, because I don't think I've received a penny from any of that. So no, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. It's anyway, we don't want to talk about money, but well, yeah, thank you for remembering all that stuff. I have no idea, because they can use it for whatever they want.
Yeah.
For, a buyout.
They say, here, just read this, and then you don't have a clue what it's used for.
Yeah, it's not like Seinfeld where none of them have to work ever again.
Yeah.
Because resids and royalties and all that stuff. But that's, you know what? I'm not complaining. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
Being in Canada, and I guess maybe it's a little different with SAG. I'm not sure, but we're just really, really lucky to work, and I feel really blessed to have been part of that show for sure.
Well, aside from getting to play Cyclops, you also got to play on a show that was more geared towards young kids, maybe kind of into the preteen age range for Rescue Heroes when you played Billy Blazes. And what was that show like, getting to work with those amazing cast members?
I did some other cartoons before this, before Rescue Heroes, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, that was fun as well. Billy Blazes, and they had all these weird names for the guy. Well, you might remember Cliffhanger. No, Cliff.
Yeah, I think it was Cliffhanger. I think, yeah,
was it Cliffhanger?
Something like that. They kind of had names that were kind of like a play on what their specialty was.
What they did.
Yeah.
So Billy Blazes, it was kind of, I'm not going to say similar to Cyclops, only in the sense that
he was the leader?
Well, yeah, he was the leader. But again, I didn't have to put on, sort of a character voice or a cartoon voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was just a little bit heightened. And I'm not sure how many episodes we did of that, but then they came out with action figures, which were really cool.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I went to Canadian Tire one time and saw one, and I pushed the button, and God, there I was.
You're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, I love that.
And of course, as the name stipulates, Billy Blazes was the firefighter on the team and the leader of all of the safety professionals.
I loved our feet.
Yeah.
Our feet were like,
they were huge.
Encyclopedias. And these action figures and the cells that we got, I gave them away to kids in the neighborhood. I mean, and people go, why did you do that? Why, T-shirts, and I said, I don't know, they're for kids, man. They're not. What am I going to do with them, right?
Well, if you ever go to conventions or something, then you have stuff to kind of put around you, and people go, oh, hey,
Yeah, I suppose. I'm just not used to the whole celebrity thing that surrounds it,
Yeah.
It was really just about the work and how much fun we had and how lucky we were to do that.
To be a part of that. Yeah, I mean, because you were a huge part of the legacy of Marvel. Those Fox Kids shows that came out really were the starting point for a lot of people, whether they were comic book readers or not. It really was the first time, I think. The characters had been used other times, don't get me wrong, but I think the series that came out in the 90s really changed the whole format of what people expected and came to know and love from the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, and the audience is very, very, very savvy and very smart people.
Absolutely.
So the writing was really good. The writing had to be, accurate because, a lot of the audience, they were way ahead of them. So if you weren't, seriously, it was like, well, that's not right. No, he didn't do that. All that stuff. So.
All the comic book readers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely understand that. Because if you already love something because you've had a perspective of it before, are you living up to what I'm already used to, kind of a thing? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have any cool stories from behind the scenes working with the cast members when y'all did work together?
That I can say on the air?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I do have one actually. I think his name was Dave, the engineer. Great guy, that ran the board, right?
Yeah.
And that's a job. I mean, you can understand. He's got, if there's 6 actors in the room, he's got to do the levels and this and that, and know when to turn the level down on one guy, and then anyway.
Yeah.
So we're sitting outside after an episode, and he says to me, Norm, I have a son I think he was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And he's got a cold. He's not feeling well. Would you mind calling him as Cyclops and just say, I hear you're not feeling well. This is Cyclops, by the way. You're not feeling well. I just want you to know that I'm behind you, and I hope you get better soon, right?
Yeah.
Like that. And, a couple of days later, I said to Dave, how did your son like the message? And he says, oh, he was thrilled. And again, I'm like, wow. I don't realize how important and how personal it is for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that meant a lot to him.
Oh, it meant, yeah. And he got better, like, immediately. So I don't know.
It was all you. It was all you.
Did Cyclops have some sort of medical degree? No.
Laughter and smiles are the best medicine. It could have truly healed him.
Well, I just don't. I didn't get it at that time, and I probably if I did get it at that time, I'd probably get a swelled head and walk around, as Cyclops all the time. So it's probably best that I didn't.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. Don't you recognize me? I'm Cyclops.
Sure, guys, sure.
No, you're not Cyclops. Come on.
That's awesome.
We only know Wolverine.
Yeah, right. You're like, hey, wait a minute. I was the leader.
That was Cal Dodd, Wolverine. Perfect.
Yeah. Cal Dodd was... you guys made just such a great team together. The way your voices interacted and just the personalities that you guys brought to the show. It was just, y'all had those moments of agitation, you and Wolverine, but then there was those bonding times where y'all teamed up because it was just that dire of a situation. And whenever y'all weren't fighting over Jean, of course,
Yeah, Jean. And George Booza, who played Beast. He was, he's huge. He looks like a biker, George Booza. Have you had him on your show?
I haven't. You're actually my second X-Men. I've had Morph, but
okay.
no. I would love to eventually speak with all of them, of course. So,
but Cal Dodd, the greatest guy. Really terrible golfer, but he.
Are you saying that just because he beats you all the time?
No. In fact, he's a nice guy. He invites me to his private course. So,
oh wow,
he's the funniest, nicest guy.
That's awesome
in the world. Yeah.
Well, Norm, I have a quick question for you. There are a lot of fans like me who gravitated toward your character Cyclops, Scott Summers, on X-Men, and as the leader, maybe some kid like me growing up, really loved the show and really, just latched onto your voice and who you are. What kind of advice would you give to them or just anyone who's interested in potentially pursuing an acting career or maybe a voice acting career?
Well, I get asked this quite often, not specifically for animation, but, just like commercials and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because they've been told they have a great voice, and a lot of them do. Here's the thing. You can have a great voice, whatever it may be, straight voice, or if you can do a bunch of characters and impressions, which are really not wanted anymore. Like I used to do Johnny Carson. I'd say, over there, Ed, where is that? Ed's dead. Sorry. I didn't know. Or Jack Nicholson, I used to do that a lot too. And Ronnie Dangerfield. I tell you, I get no respect at all, I get no respect at all, Not much call for that. So what I tell people is people may have great voices, but they can't read.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
For some reason, I've just always had the ability since grade school to be able to read from a book and make it sound like I'm not reading it. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Because I do that all the time myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why I had that skill. And I also really enjoyed it. So I guess I was, I was a class clown in school, and I was in the principal's office more than the principal, but I managed to graduate anyway. So, yeah, it's very difficult unless, well, here's the thing. Back when I was doing it, you go to school, you go to whatever broadcast school they have in whatever city you live in, and start there. You see, people today, they just want to start immediately, do a morning show in, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, they want to be famous instantly.
well, yeah, exactly. And maybe they can these days. I'm not sure. It's a different world today. But back then, when I went to broadcast school, I learned about news. I learned about how to do sports. I learned how to be a DJ, and I learned how to write commercials and all that stuff. So,
You learned a lot of skills.
well, yeah, it's like Ted Baxter was like, I started a 5,000 watt radio station, and if anyone remembers Ted Baxter, and that's really what it was. And then I worked my way slowly to bigger stations and bigger stations, and but that was my journey. And I tell people, I say, because there's courses everywhere. I say, if you want to do it, take this course and take that course. You'll end up with a nice demo, and then you shop it around, and the agents say, nope. It's extremely competitive, as you just like being an actor,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it is voice acting. It's just voice acting. It's not. I don't think people should diminish voice acting from acting.
Because acting comes first, and you're an actor before anything. So.
Exactly. So that was my point. When you may have a good voice, or whatever, but you're not. You don't want to be Walter Cronkite. You don't want to be like. What do you want to do? Like, what do
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the way it is. It's like. What was your question? Sorry.
No, it was just kind of what advice
My
you
advice
have.
to people.
But you said what people really, like people say, I have a great voice, but can you act? Do you have the acting abilities that you need, or are you able to read
Exactly.
copy without stumbling over the words? And can you make them sound like your own words and not like you're reading off a piece of paper?
So when I said make it sound like you're not reading, and this doesn't have to be playing a character in a animation. You could be doing a commercial for McDonald's, and it's very straight copy, and you're selling Egg McMuffins that are apparently available 24/7. Like, well, they are. No, but I mean, I don't know. You can't sound like Walter Cronkite. Just you can get an Egg McMuffin. Blah, blah, blah. No, and what they really want now is don't sound like an announcer.
Yeah. They want more natural sounding voices, I think, now.
Exactly. So, and that was different than when I started back. There was no, don't sound like, what do you mean? Well, they don't want it to sound like too professional and too kind of like the guy next door.
Yeah.
You can get an Egg McMuffin for like $3.49, almost throw it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, like throw it away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just kind of like let it come easy, let it go.
Yeah, it's really hard to convey that to someone who wants to do it, because they hear things on the radio, and I hear them read something, and I'm like, oh yeah, like it's stiff, and the tonality of their voice is good. They're, they have a very smooth, mellow sound in their voice, but can you act? And that's what people miss, because you are acting, but you're only acting with your voice.
Yeah.
As opposed to your facial expressions. That's all. But you do make facial expressions when you're doing voice, and you use your hands and you move, and, to convey what you're doing.
It all helps get it out there the right way.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's, people that really want to do it, it's possible. It really is. But get some training, like take a course, a really good course. And then, of course, then you have to join the union and then, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us your advice on what people should do to, kind of reach their potential goals or their aspirations. Kind of give people an idea of what it would take to do that, if that's something they do want to pursue or not. But, I have one final question for you today, Norm, and we will wrap this interview up. The question is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Don't do what I did. No. The legacy I want to leave behind.
Yes, sir.
Well, okay. I was lucky enough to find a career that I absolutely am passionate about. I love to go to work. I love to work. And I hope that, I think I'm pretty sure that I did not step on maybe one or two toes along the way in 20, 22 years or whatever. And I'd like to think that people enjoy working with me, and I enjoy working with them. And it is an absolute privilege to still be in this business, at 59, because unfortunately, there's a lot of friends of mine from the old days that you just don't hear them anymore, and for whatever reason. So I consider myself extremely lucky, and I'm grateful, to be able to do the job that I love, because a lot of people can't say that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I know
understand.
you love your job. I love you. You love your job, and
yeah,
that's a very, very fortunate thing to be able to say.
Oh, absolutely.
And I hope it carries on. I mean, there's people that work to live, and I live to work. I know that's a cliche, but I'm very, very lucky.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with you on that. You're very, very lucky man, and it's been a very big privilege to speak with you today.
Oh, thank you, Trenton. It's been an honor and a privilege for me. This is my first podcast, so.
Wow, I am honored for sure.
How's my hair?
It looks fantastic.
Do you remember Piggsburg Pigs by any chance?
That name sounds extremely familiar. It's a show, isn't it?
It was a animated series. It only lasted, I think, 1 or 2 seasons.
I think I do recall it, yeah.
It was only 26 episodes, I think. There were 2 wolves, and I played one of the wolves, and I did sort of Reverend Jim from Taxi.
Okay, yeah.
I was playing one of the wolves, and I would say, "Hey, you nincomb wolf, that's not where we're going. We're going to catch the pigs."
I love it. Well, Norm, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please give us a closeout today as Scott Summers, a.k.a. Cyclops from X-Men?
Our mission's complete. Everyone, into the Blackbird. And Gene, this may be the last time I tell you, but get down.
Hey everyone, I know you thought the episode was over, but I have just a little bit more for you today. There was some behind the scenes talk where Norm and I discussed kind of how the 1992 X-Men really kind of shaped and molded society's opinion and thoughts on X-Men as a whole. So this is just a little clip. I know we kind of talked about it some in the episode, but this was just really fun and I thought I'd share it with you guys today. I hope you enjoy. Well, Norm, it has been absolutely fun, man.
It's been fun for me too. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, you are super
welcome.
welcome.
You mean it.
I do, man. I really do. I mean, seriously, man, like listening to you guys on X-Men, and your character was always so, I mean, he was just, you portray a really great leader. And, you know, I love the confrontation between you and Cal when y'all were Wolverine and Cyclops. And it's just like, man, just such good memories. You guys really created a, not just a great show, but just, I mean, there were good moral lessons and good, just, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's hard to explain. The shows back then were just uncomparable. You know, that X-Men series, I've watched, I think every one they've ever made, and every show tries to emulate your show because you guys set the bar so high that everyone else tries to mimic it. Even Hugh Jackman tried to be Cal Dodd because the animation, seriously, they actually used his audio for Hugh Jackman because your show became so iconic. Everyone based everything off of the 94, 92, 93 series for X-Men. You guys really changed the world of Marvel.
Wow. Now that you mention it, when I do listen to Hugh Jackman, yeah, I do get, I think of Cal because,
Yeah.
Of course, Cal doesn't have the six-pack that Hugh has and all that sort of thing. But, no, that's cool. Our mission's complete. Everyone, into the Blackbird. And Gene, nice shoes.
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Norm Spencer, the voice of Cyclops from X-Men the Animated Series. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. You know, a question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the Episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us this Friday for our next special guest, John Semper, the writer, story editor, and producer of Spider-Man the Animated Series from 1994. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they've voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.